Hello guys, this is me Simo Orahara, and in this video I will show you a scene from my writings based on what Ichibi mentioned in the novel about the story of the Soul King and how the worlds of Bleach were formed. And we know that it was the ancestors of the noble families who were the reason why Ryu divided the original world of Bleach to the worlds we currently know. And we also know that Ryu was a man. He defeated the first Minos in the story. Also, he was defeating the Hollow by removing them from existence as a protector of the world, and as we know that Ichibi was there in the original world. But the point that remains mysterious is the relationship between Yhwach and Ryu. I mean, if he is his biological son or he's just a manifestation of his power. But in this story I assumed that it was his biological son and that he was living with him at that time. And so through that point I wanted, by using my imagination, to highlight the feelings of young Yhwach and his relationship with Ryu, and how he saw the world and why he wanted a world without death. I also wanted to show the scene of the noble speech with Ryu and how they were trying to convince him to submit to them and fulfill their desires, and its connection with Yhwach. So you will see all of this in this scene, which is an imaginary scene from my writing. And so let's go guys. The story camera shows us a scene of a child sitting next to the door of his house, contemplating the sky view that day. The child had a black hair to his back, while features of stillness and tranquility were all over his childish face, and his eyes were a bright blue sky color. But looking at the sky of that day, its color reflected in his eyes, which made them look red. Yes, the sky of that world became red after it was blue. And that's not all. That child was freaking out every moment from the frightening sounds that were coming from that sky. They were breaking sounds, as if that red sky will break and fall on that world at any moment. A change among many ones that began to happen, and that child watched them with amazement, without understanding them. The world that he knew and loved was beginning to change, and he doesn't know why. And while his eyes were drowning while looking at that sky and hearing those terrible sounds coming from distant, that kid remembered those days when everything was fine. And he remembered exactly when he was in his father's lap on that sunny day whose sky was blue. When they were under the shadow of a giant tree, he remembered his father's lap and how he hugged him strongly while asking him, "My father, are we going to be together forever?" That father, with special eyes and features that make you feel like he's not a normal person, answered his son, "Yes, we will." The child got very happy, but soon added another question. "But my father, we're not going to disappear one day? I hear there's something called death. Is it really there? They said it makes you disappear from existence forever." On the rhythm of dancing leaves of that great shaped tree and the cold breeze that was caressing them, that father looked at the blue sky and said, "No, son, there is no such thing in our world." And that father makes a warm smile with his hand on his son's head and added, "So we will stay together forever." That's father's answer. Was it honest or just a lie? The child now doesn't really know what's true. Even his father's actions have changed. Ever since those so-called hollow monsters came into existence, everything has changed with them. His father became the one who fights and protects the world from them. At first it seemed fun for a child. He was proud that his father was considered a national hero to all. Everyone respects him. Everyone appreciates that his father is the protector of the original world. He was the one who fought the great Minos in that great battle and saved the world from its evil. That child still remembers the stories his father used to tell him every evening about his fights with the Hollows and how he defeated them, and every time he repeats the story of his fight with the great Minos and how he killed him. It was really fun. But with these changes starting to happen to the world, the child knew it wasn't like that anymore, and his father, who is now considered a national hero to everyone, he is in the spotlight again to protect the world from these changes. The child did not know how his father would again protect the world, how he's going to recolor the sky like it was, how he's going to stop these horrible sounds. The father who promised him that they will stay together, especially when he remembers those 5 men who used to come to their house a lot these days. And yes, they were 5 men. He remembers them very well. And his father was preventing him from approaching or hearing the talk that was going on between him and the 5 men. The child doesn't know why, but there is no doubt that it is important and related to his father. That's why the kid decided he's going to listen to them this time, and he'll find out what those 5 want from his father. And after taking the last look at that red sky, the child sensed the arrival of his father and the others from distant, and he prepared himself to hide his power. Even he made his heartbeat almost non-existent, so that his father would not feel his presence. A few moments, and as expected, the father of the child came with 5 men. They walked in through the front garden door, and their feature looked different. One of them gave a feeling he's someone with evil intentions, another which called a noble features, another with kind features, and another with brown skin. Makes you feel like he's someone who likes to joke. While the last one had a blonde hair with features of wisdom and intelligence. But the main thing you can see through those 5 is that they wanted something from his father, and now it's time from him to know what is it. And they all sat in the living room. The father was in the middle of them, while the child was away hiding in the middle of the wall. He was feeling nervous. His father had a sign of obedience. He didn't know why his father was acting like that. He's a national hero. He's strong. Why does he look weak in front of them? And while he was thinking in all of that, he heard the person with evil features say in a voice similar to a snake, "And so, great knight, have you thought well? We give you the time you want. The world cannot take any more delay. It's heading for chaos," and with an evil smile, "and you know you're the reason for this." And the shock settled on the child while hearing this, so he started talking to himself. "My father is the reason why the sky has become red? How is that? My father fought those monsters that would have killed you." And the child was surprised again when he heard his father respond with a broken voice. "Yes, Mr. Tsunayashiro, you're right. After I killed the Minos and started removing the horrors from existence in such large numbers, instead of making the world go on a bright path, I became the reason why it's heading down a dark road to be chaotic again." And one of the 5 men who had kind features interrupted, "Great knight, you don't have to do that thing. You have given so much to this world. You got rid of the Minos and your intentions were good when you fought the horrors for us." And that man hit his hand on the table in the middle of them and said, "If you are afraid for your son's features and you want to stay with him, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be the Soul King, and I'm gonna search for a technique or ability to do it. You don't have to choose what you don't really want. Great night." And it was a big shock to that kid listening to that talk. He felt a lot of pain in his chest. That feeling he was afraid of is the feeling who seemed to be shaped like a shocking reality. They want to get his father away from him somewhere. He sees his father without a will. They control him, and he couldn't believe what he sees. And the child said in a crying voice, "My father, are you really going to give up on me?" And he heard his father say in a broken voice, "Thank you for your words, Mr. Shiba. However, I'm the one who started everything, and I'm the one who has to finish this thing. My son is all I have. My son loves this world, and he wants this world to remain the same. And I promised him that death won't exist in it, but," with a sorry look, "the world must be divided again in order to form a new life cycle of which death will be a part, or everything will collapse." And that kid remembered again the scene of his father's talk under the shadow of the tree. The scene soon broke in the front of his father's words, which he had just heard. He's going to lose his father, and there will be death. Death that the child didn't want. He doesn't want to die. He wants to stay with his father forever. But now his eyes are overflowing with tears. Features of extreme anger started to form on the face of the child as he observes the face of those 5 and how they put pressure on his father. And he heard someone say, "So, great knight, looks like you have made up your mind. You will become the Soul King and the savior of the world." Looking at where his child was hiding, the father looked with a look of sorry and replied, "Yes, Mr. Kuchiki, my son will understand the need to make this decision over time." And the child look at his father was like a volcano of anger bursting into tears as he shouted at himself, "How can you do this to me, father?" But Mr. Shiba interrupted the father's words. "Great knight, think again, please. And Mr. Tsunayashiro intervened in a malicious voice. Shiba, no more. What is the value of a person's life in front of the lives of millions? The Great Knight is the only person who can split the world. He was made for this, and he's going to devote his life to this. The silence of the Great Knight was strange in the face of the rivalry of those five about his fate. How they were planning what and how he was going to do it. And who should he sacrifice? Those things that the kid noticed with great disappointment in his father, the one who is considered by all to be the Great Knight. To these five seemed to be only a little pawn. A few moments until everyone stood up, Mr. Tsunayashiro spoke. So, Great Knight, prepare yourself. The process to be the Soul King will begin soon. Let's go. And the five are starting to get out of the house, and the blood-haired man was the last one to come out. Putting his hand on the shoulder of the Great Knight and whispering in a faint voice, he said, "Don't be afraid, I'll figure out a solution for all of this, and if I don't find it, the one after me will." And at the end of those words, they all went out and the Great Knight remained alone, looking down with looks of sadness to say, in a faint voice, "You have heard what happened between us, my son." The father barely finished his word until a whirlwind turned the table crumbs for that child to scream, standing in front of his father and tears running down his eyes. "Tell me, what you told me under that tree was a lie?" Looking at him with a look of sorrow, the father said, "No, it wasn't a lie. It was something I was wishing to happen." And in an angry voice, with his hand shaking with anger, "How can you be so obedient, my father? Why don't you make your own decisions? You have everything in your hands. Let's live together, you and I. Why do you want to sacrifice yourself for others?" And the father responded, trying to calm his son. "Son, it's a future that my eyes have seen. We can't escape it. I will sacrifice for you and for everyone to live in a new world." And not responding to his father's words, the child responded with a strong voice, "What am I going to do in a new world where you don't exist? What I'm going to do in a world where death exists and you don't? You have chosen the wrong way, Dad." And looking around and saying, "If you really see the future, Dad, you have to make your decision in which you see yourself in it, not others." And before the father answers, the child left after speaking coldly this time. "You disappointed me, father. You're no longer the Great Knight that I loved. You became a pawn for those rogues." And in front of his painful but real words, the father sat in his place for a certain period until he spoke, saying, "Come in, Ichibi." After he asked for permission, Ichibi entered, who was back then slightly smaller and less thick beard, but his wise look were still the same. Millions of years didn't change anything about them. He spoke in a quiet voice, "Great Knight, I saw your son running fast, leaving the house, and he seemed in abnormal conditions." After seeing the father's look, Ichibi added, "He know about it." After a sharp exhalation, the father stood up and said, "Yes, Ichibi. It was only a matter of time. I deliberately let him hear the conversation. There is no point in hiding more than this." Looking at the crumbs of that fallen table all over the floor, Ichibi knew the son of the Great Knight didn't accept what was going to happen. So he addressed the father, saying, "So what are you going to do, Great Knight? Do you want me to look for him and try to convince him that it's for everyone's sake?" And with a sad smile, the father replied, "No, Ichibi. Let him. He doesn't want a new world where he and I exist with death." And Ichibi says, "So what do you want, Great Knight? Are you happy with what's going on? Are you determined to move forward with this decision?" And after a brief silence, the father replied, "My desire? I don't know honestly what I want. It is true, I see the future, but even so, the future seems to me mysterious, and it doesn't give me any clue of what my real desire is. It does not give me any thread about what my true desire." He looks at Ichibi saying, "But I'm sure that my son will seek the extinction of the next new world, and he will strive to destroy it, especially after he hears the talk of the five nobles. Ichibi, then I will be sealed, and may not be able to do anything. Then you must protect the new world from my son's desire for revenge. He has a point of view, but it cannot be applied in such situation. You should be on the lookout, you or the one of the five miracles that will be born in the distant future. And without knowing the last words of the Great Knight, Ichibi lowered his head and answered, "I will be like that, Great Knight." At the same time, the son of the Great Knight was on a hill overlooking one of the seas, looking at the red sky, and the sounds of the strong wave would not diminish the frightening sound of the sky. And the child's gaze became more cruel and more malevolent, to the extent that the reflection of the red sky on his eyes became permanent, and tears flowing from his eyes, as he pressed his teeth forcefully and said, "So this is how you want it, Dad? You want to be humiliated slave? If you want to sacrifice this world for the whims of others, I will strive to return it, and I will restore the world as it was and end that humiliation that it was and it will be in." Soul King.